So hi folks, we're back at the Hive configuration. We're back at the second task. So for the second task we want to use the battings table, which comprises of 23 columns. Now in certain situations you might want to analyze all of the columns of a particular CSV file. So what we're going to do here is we're going to take in all of the data, and then we're going to extract that data from the temporary table, only listing or only extracting the columns that we actually are interested in, with a little bit of regular expression. So first thing we want to do is create a table, temp battings table, that is just going to have one column in it, and it's going to be a string column because we're going to take in all of the data as a string. It's got 23 columns in this table, so let's go ahead and create a table, temp table, called temp batting, and we're going to have one column in it, which is going to be column value, the name, and it's going to be of type string. So the next thing we want to do is load the data from the battings.csv file into the table temp battings. So we just use the command load data in path. So load data in path, and this particular CSV file is under the temp directory. We uploaded it in the previous task. So it's called batting.csv, and overwrite into table temp batting. Okay, so after this we can have a look at the table. So we do select asterisk from temp batting. We can see all 23 columns. Okay, so Hive consumed that data from the actual HDFS, because if we look under temp, on our HDFS file system, you can see that the batting table has disappeared, because Hive, when you create an internal table, it actually takes the file off the HDFS file system, consumes it, and puts it into an internal table, which is managed now completely by Hive. So now what we want to do is we want to extract only the player ID, the year ID, and the runs ID of that particular player from the batting table. So we create a new table with these three columns. And we only are interested in player ID, which is of type string, year ID, year, which is of type int, and runs, which is of type int. So basically what we're doing is we're creating a table, and we only are interested in player ID, year, and runs. And then we want to extract from the temporary table those columns, and to do this we need to use this regular expression. So it'll just extract the first column, the second column, and the ninth column, which relates to player ID, year, and run of the temp table that we created earlier, temp batting. So we need to run this regular expression from our Hive command prompt. It is very sensitive, and if there's any spaces or anything, it won't work. So I recommend just Googling for this, because this is quite a common exercise. So what we can do is just Google for insert overwrite batting, and it should pop up with the regular expression. So rather than us typing that out, we can just do a copy and paste to the Hive prompt. Okay, so let's Google for insert overwrite batting. And here we have it here. So we can just copy this and bring it into our Hive prompt. And it should work. So it sets off a MapReduce task in this case. So the idea is that we want to only extract the player ID column, the year ID and the run ID from the temp table batting that has all of the data. And once we execute that query and look at the batting table, we should see just the 3 columns that we're interested in. So this will run for a little while. So the Hive MapReduce task ran in the background. We can see there's 100%. It only used mapper task. It didn't actually have to use a reduce task. So if we do a select on that particular table, asterisk from batting, we can see the 3 columns have been extracted successfully. So what we want to do now is run the select query. So let's do a select on year, and the max runs for that particular year. Group by year. So we're looking for the max runs of each year. So Hive uses MapReduce tasks to perform the select queries. So with Hive 2 it has been depreciated, MapReduce has been depreciated, and they do suggest that you run Spark or Tez as the execution engine from Hive 2 onwards. It is quite slow with my machine. So what we're doing here then is now we need to go back and get the player ID so we know who the player was that had that max run. So we know for a given year we can use the runs to find the player for that year. So we take the previous query and join it with the battings record to get the final table. So we can go, there's the max runs there per year. So now what we want to do is find the player ID associated with the those max runs. So we can go ahead and run this query, and that ends Parctical or task 2 of this particular Parctical. Thank you.